Have you ever looked up at the sky, watching the clouds drift lazily by, and wondered what it would be like to soar among them? The sky stretches endlessly, filled with fluffy white clouds that look like soft pillows, floating gently above the world. Sometimes, when the sun shines just right, the clouds seem to glow, inviting you to imagine what adventures might await up there. And when you see birds gliding effortlessly through the air, wings outstretched, do you ever wish you could join them, feeling the wind rush past as you fly high above the trees and rivers below? Our friend Kambu the turtle often felt exactly that way. He would spend hours gazing up, his little heart filled with dreams of flight, imagining what it would be like to leave the ground behind and explore the world from above. Kambu lived in a beautiful, peaceful pond, surrounded by green lily pads and shimmering, colorful fish that darted through the water like living jewels. The pond was always alive with gentle ripples and the soft sounds of nature, a perfect home for a thoughtful turtle like Kambu. Every single day, Kambu would watch the geese as they soared gracefully across the sky, their wings beating in perfect harmony. Sometimes they would fly in a V formation, calling out to each other as they traveled to faraway places. Kambu would tilt his head back and think, oh, how wonderful it must be to see the world from up high, to glide above the treetops, to look down on rivers winding through the land, and to feel the cool breeze all around. Luckily, Kambu was not alone. He had two very good friends, Chitra and Griva, who were geese. They were kind and adventurous, always ready to share their stories and listen to Kambu's dreams. Chitra and Griva would tell Kambu all about their travels, about the tall, snow-capped mountains they had seen, the sparkling rivers that twisted through valleys, and the wide, open fields that stretched as far as the eye could see. Their stories painted pictures of distant lands and exciting journeys. Kambu would listen with wide, shining eyes, his imagination soaring with every word. Deep down, he wished with all his heart that one day, he too could join his friends and see the world from the sky, just like the birds he admired so much. On a warm, sunny afternoon, Kambu the turtle was resting quietly by the edge of his favorite pond, enjoying the gentle breeze and the soft rustle of leaves overhead. The water shimmered in the sunlight, and dragonflies danced above the surface. Kambu loved these peaceful moments, but today, something special was about to happen. As he gazed across the pond, he noticed his friends, Chitra and Griva, the two graceful geese, stretching their wings and preparing for a long journey. Their feathers glistened, and their excitement was contagious. Kambu watched them with admiration and a hint of longing. He sighed and said, I wish I could fly with you and see the world from above. Imagine all the wonderful places we could visit together. Chitra and Griva turned to their little friend and smiled warmly. They knew how much Kambu dreamed of adventure, and they cared deeply for him. The geese remembered all the times Kambu had shared stories of faraway lands and his wish to see what lay beyond the pond. They understood his curiosity and his desire to experience something new. Suddenly, Kambu's eyes sparkled with inspiration. Being a clever and resourceful turtle, he often came up with creative solutions to tricky problems. This time, an idea popped into his mind that made his heart race with excitement. I know, he exclaimed, his voice full of hope. What if you could carry me with you? Maybe there's a way for me to join your flight. Kambu looked around and spotted a sturdy stick lying nearby. Each of you can hold one end of the stick in your beak, he suggested eagerly, and I can grip the middle with my mouth. The geese exchanged excited glances, impressed by Kambu's cleverness. With this plan, maybe Kambu's dream of flying could finally come true. The adventure was about to begin. Chitra and Griva thought about Kambu's idea. It seemed a bit dangerous, but they wanted to make their friend happy, so they agreed to try. They found a strong stick. Chitra and Griva each carefully held one end in their beaks, and Kambu held on tight to the middle. Then, with powerful flaps of their wings, they lifted Kambu into the air. Up they went, higher and higher. Kambu was so happy. He had never been so high above the ground. He saw the pond below, looking like a small blue mirror. He saw fields of green and houses that looked like tiny blocks. People pointed and shouted when they saw a turtle flying in the sky. Kambu was so excited that he forgot his promise to stay silent. Look, everyone, I'm flying, he shouted. As soon as Kambu opened his mouth to speak, he lost his grip on the stick. In that very instant, the world seemed to slow down for Kambu. He realized, too late, that he had forgotten the most important rule his friends had given him, to stay quiet and hold on tight. But the excitement of flying, the thrill of seeing the world from above, had made him forget everything else. He wanted to share his joy, to shout out to the world how wonderful it felt to soar through the sky. But as soon as he opened his mouth, the stick slipped away from his jaws. Down he fell, tumbling towards the ground. The wind rushed past him, and for a moment Kambu felt weightless, spinning and turning in the air. He saw the green fields below getting closer and closer, and his heart pounded with fear. He flailed his legs, wishing he could somehow fly on his own, but gravity pulled him down faster and faster. The world that had looked so beautiful from above now seemed frightening as he tumbled helplessly through the air. Chitra and Griva were shocked. They had been so focused on carrying their friend safely that they never imagined he would let go. Their wings beat faster as they watched Kambu plummet, their eyes wide with worry and fear. They called out to him, hoping he would be all right, but there was nothing they could do except follow him down. They circled around, trying to reach their friend. The two birds swooped and dived, searching for a way to help Kambu. They called to each other, working together to keep an eye on where he would land. Their hearts raced as they hoped for the best, wishing they could somehow soften his fall. Luckily, Kambu landed with a soft thud in a pile of hay. The hay cushioned his fall, and instead of a hard crash, he found himself surrounded by the gentle, scratchy comfort of straw. He lay there for a moment, catching his breath, feeling both relieved and embarrassed. The world was spinning a little, but he was safe. Chitra and Griva landed beside him, relieved that he was safe. They hurried over, their wings fluttering with concern, and looked down at their friend. They had been so worried, but now they could see that Kambu was all right, just a little shaken up. "Kambu, are you all right?" Griva exclaimed. Chitra peered at him closely, making sure he hadn't hurt his shell or legs. The two birds waited anxiously for Kambu to answer, hoping he hadn't been injured in the fall. Kambu was a little shaken but unharmed. He slowly lifted his head, blinking in the sunlight, and took a deep breath. His heart was still pounding, but he realized he was lucky to have landed safely. He looked at his friends, grateful for their care and concern. He realized that he had been foolish to forget his promise. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, his voice full of regret. He remembered how important it was to listen to his friends and to follow their advice, especially when they were trying to help him. He felt embarrassed for letting his excitement get the better of him. "I was too excited and forgot to be careful," Kambu admitted. He looked up at Chitra and Griva, hoping they would forgive him. He knew now that sometimes it's better to stay quiet and focus on what's important, rather than letting excitement take over. From that day on, Kambu never forgot his adventure in the sky. He often looked up at the clouds, remembering how it felt to fly, and how quickly things could change if he wasn't careful. The memory stayed with him, reminding him to always think before he acted. He learned that it's important to think before you speak and to be happy with who you are. Kambu realized that everyone has their own special gifts, and that it's okay to dream, but it's also important to listen to good advice and to trust your friends. He was grateful for Chitra and Griva, who had given him the chance to experience something amazing, and who had cared for him when things went wrong. After all, not everyone gets to be a flying turtle, even for a day. Kambu knew he was lucky to have had such a wonderful adventure, and he promised himself to always remember the lesson he had learned. He watched his friends soar above him, feeling proud of who he was, and happy to be surrounded by those who cared for him. Do you have a dream? Maybe you want to try something new or go on an adventure of your own. Like Kambu, you might feel excited and a little bit scared, but that's all part of learning and growing. Remember, it's okay to ask for help and to listen to those who care about you. What do you think you can do to make it happen? Take a moment to think about your dreams, and remember Kambu's lesson. Be brave, but also be wise. Listen to your friends, trust yourself, and never forget to enjoy the journey along the way.